When you look back over all of the years that you've been in this business, what would you say is the biggest change that you've seen?
Well, the scene in general became more corporate, but I also feel like the dance scene, especially the dance scene and also the hip hop scene, is still a lot of cowboys out there, you know. And for the business, I think it's very hard because I feel like every young artist, when he signs his first contract or his first deal with a manager or an agent or a record label, always ends up on the bad side and, you know, gets robbed in a lot of ways. And I feel that still has to change, and it's not changing yet.
If you look at some of the metrics that an artist like yourself gets on Spotify, for example, I mean, at last check, I think it's like 8 billion cumulative total when it comes to streams on Spotify, which is just extraordinary.
Yeah.
Look, the industry has changed, but the way the music is distributed has changed as well. Are you kind of liking where that's going? Because some artists complain that they're not being compensated in the right way.
Yeah. Well, you know, I don't really focus on the compensation of that part much. It's more like, you know, when an artist signs a contract and the manager charges 30% of everything he makes, and the record label another 50%, and you know, then I think things get a little tricky for people. So I'm just very lucky that I had my longevity, and you know, I'm very well off, I think, with everything.
So how do you fix that in the industry if artists aren't being fairly paid for their work?
Yeah, it's just, you know, I think the artist itself has to be very aware that as soon as you sign a contract for the first time, you know it's not going to end well unless you have a real lawyer look at what you sign. And somebody in the music industry should tell you, you always have to have a second opinion. I think that's the problem a lot of guys don't do, because, you know, it's like
they're excited to land the contract. And
yeah, even myself, my first contract, I signed. I didn't ask anybody. I didn't ask a lawyer. I didn't ask a publisher. I just, oh yeah, that's cool. I got my first record deal. There you go. I signed my life away for 10 years.
Right.
You know? Right. So you know, and I see that still happening a lot with a lot of artists, and even on top level.
Right.
So
right.
That's the hard part about the business, I think.
I wanted to ask you about some new trends that are emerging as well, because we are seeing NFTs really disrupting the music and art scene. What's your take on NFTs? Is this something that you follow closely, or perhaps something that you could be interested in when it comes to extending your own business activities?
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting that people. It's a new way of generating money, I think, and exposure, and it's really cool. You know, I'm just a little bit more old school, I guess. So I don't really know too much about it, but I see a lot of like new talent coming through of the NFTs, and I think it's great.
The other thing we're seeing in the industry now is artists also rushing into the metaverse. They're looking to perhaps take advantage of that space, perhaps not being able to replicate the physical shows that you've become really well known for. But do you think the metaverse is also a business opportunity for you?
I think so. I think metaverse is going to be massive. I would definitely like to explore it, but there's nothing better, you know, than being in an arena like here with sold out show. You know, we're humans and we need human contact. You know, the NFTs and the metaverses and social media is not our real lives at the end of the day. It's beautiful, you know, and everything is better in the metaverse, but it's not your real life. And I think everybody should focus on the real life, because that's where it's at.
So you're creating these amazing real life experiences on the ground in your shows. There's other experiences happening in the metaverse as well. Do you see that as a threat to the current business model? Because, I mean, tours make a lot of money, right?
Yeah. I don't see it as a threat. I think it can live side by side. I think it's just a whole new world. And it's actually great, because when you are in New York, you can actually experience Tiësto in Dubai through the metaverse. You know, that's really cool. But I don't see it better as the original experience.
I also wanted to ask you, because you have achieved such considerable success, we're a business channel, we like to talk about the finances of all of this.
Yeah.
You are also one of the highest paid DJs in the world. So what would you say is the best investment advice Tiësto has ever received?
The best investment advice? Well, it's a couple of things. You know, first of all, invest in yourself. You know, like that's what I always did. When I made my first money, I invested in myself. Like better equipment to work with, better clothes to wear on stage, or everything like that. That was the best advice, I think. And secondly, I think a good advice is to invest in what you understand. Don't invest in stuff. Don't buy real estate just because you think it's a good investment. You gotta understand why you want to buy real estate, or stocks, or NFTs, or Bitcoin. If you don't understand it, don't invest in it.